AI is going to be the most profound technology that mankind has ever wrought. It is about to change us in ways that we have no idea. If AI was a clock, a 24-hour clock, we're only at 2 a.m. We've got 22 hours left to go. And by noon, we're not going to recognize the world.
Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor podcast. Devon Taylor, Devon
Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Devon Taylor podcast, where we have guests from all around the world tell their unique and powerful stories to not only allow their voice to be heard, but for you to leave feeling inspired. My guest today lives at the intersection of innovation and inner awakening. He's a visionary entrepreneur and technologist who has built companies across AI, energy, blockchain, and digital infrastructure, while also exploring what it truly means to live a fulfilled, conscious life. From electrical engineer to spiritual author and advisor, he's helped lead transformation initiatives in data centers, cybersecurity, and next generation systems, all while asking deeper questions about purpose, balance, and presence. He is the author of Living in Bliss, Achieve a Balanced Existence of Body, Mind, and Spirit. And today we're exploring what happens when high performance meets inner alignment, how conscious leadership actually shows up in business, and why success without fulfillment is no longer enough. So I'm happy and excited to welcome Pete Sacco to the show. Hello.
Hey, Devon, I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to interview you and my audience to get to know you more. So I'd really like to just start with your background. How did you get into your field? How did you get into your work? And,
Sure.
what kind of led you there?
Love to tell the story. So my background actually started, I'm going to pick it up from about college. I started studying quantum physics. For quantum physics led to engineering. I like to say that I'm 58 years old, right? It's relevant to this. I was born in 67. So Star Wars, George Lucas made Star Wars, I think, for me, right? And so I was 9 years old when I first saw it. And I swear to God, it's why I became a technologist, right? Because I was so enamored with the idea of being able to foretell of the technologies that will drive humanity. Um,
Wow.
Move forward to today. Just recently, I took my kids to Disney, to Hollywood Studios in Florida, and I got to go to the Star Wars exhibit, and they couldn't drag me out of there. I made somewhere over there as a lightsaber. I made the most expensive toy in the history of adults. But I started in quantum physics, and then quantum mechanics, and I led to engineering. In the 90s, during the first two Gulf Wars, I worked for a company and I designed power supplies and DC to DC converters for military systems. That led to UPS design. UPS design led to PTS, company that I founded 30 years ago that today is one of the leading design builders of the data center facilities that are powering the AI world.
Wow.
But that led to a lot. I have divisions today that are around energy, around IT, around there. And then I do a lot of investing in and around the space in technologies that are going to change the world, from the chips that are going to replace NVIDIA GPUs at the AI level to the software that they run on. I'm even building a line of my own data centers for what I envision will be the future of the data center industry as AI evolves. And I'd be happy to talk about that, where I think it's going. And that company is called Gray Wolf Data Centers. And I envision a time when we have a completely decentralized and data sovereign public cloud to compete against the likes of the public cloud that we know it, AWS, Google, and Amazon, and Microsoft.
Wow, amazing. And to be quite honest, to hear that Star Wars is your inspiration is remarkable, because it was ahead of its time with its cinematography and just the staging and the costumes and whatnot.
100%. They
What?
say that the people when they were filming it in the UK, that the people thought they were crazy, like, you couldn't envision what the film was gonna be like while they were making it,
Wow.
and there's a story that one of the, UK producers, when he sat down to watch it for the first time, he looked at the screen and he's like, "What movie are we watching?" And they're like, "No, that's the movie that you filmed." And they had done all of the special effects back in California, and with the stage acting without the special effects must have looked empty.
Right. I can only imagine,
Yeah.
especially, when we see the green screens now and
Right.
how movies are made. But I love it. So you started in very much high tech,
Yeah.
but also you've gone into some deep spirituality. So
Yes, and so that came later. I had this, um, like many people, we do not make changes to ourselves until we hit our bottom, and I'm thankful that my bottom wasn't near as deep as many, but it was indeed my bottom, right? And so I woke up one day in my late 30s, early 40s, and I was 365 pounds. I was an ex offensive lineman, in college. So I was a big dude, right? Made my living putting my forearms through your chest, right? But here I was carrying 368 pounds. I was unhappily married, estranged from my son. I had some business success, but I was completely unfulfilled. And I remember the day that the doctor handed across all the medication across the table and said, "Congratulations, Peter. You've joined the ranks of the unhealthy. If you keep this up, you won't live to the age of your grandparents." And
wow.
and that was really the beginning of the journey, which manifested itself in the book, right? Living in Bliss, a balanced existence of body, mind, and spirit. And what I discovered along the way, and really the book is really the cathartic tale of the last 30 years of my life now. Like, how did I get to this kind? Because if I was to tell you the person that you would have talked to 30 years ago, even though it's the same business, is a completely different guy than the guy that sits before you now. The lessons were this: one, if you're good to the body will be good to you. And that's indeed what I did. And it's been a journey of continual, but today I'm 190 pounds, probably in the best shape of my life, played tennis 5 days a week. I mean, you can't see them, but over my shoulder, there's pictures of three little girls. I don't know if you could make it out. I'm sorry, I got one of those cameras that move. But I got three little girls. So the family 2.0 for me is 7, 5, and 3-year-old girls. I've got a 37-year-old son and 12, 9, and 2-year-old grandchildren. So I'm that
Wow.
guy, right? But I was good to my body, and my body's been good to me and recovering. Changing the mind, a little bit more challenging than changing the body, right? But it's possible, right? We're not beholden to our genetics, right? We have an epigenome that can change based on environment. And so if you create an environment, not just a physical environment, but a mental environment of healthy, you can change your mind. Likewise, we have neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, the ability to grow new brain cells, and through new experience and new learning, we can reprogram ourselves from the inside out. We can learn to question, why are we reacting negatively? Why are we feeling unfulfilled? Why do I have expectations? Right? And so if we can train ourselves to do that, we learn how to react differently. The amazing piece was the discovery of spirituality along the way. Um, I love Dan Buettner, who's the gentleman who wrote The Blue Zones, made famous on Netflix, about the areas in the world where there's a high concentration of centenarians, those people who have lived over 100 years old. And there's places like Okinawa, Japan, and Sardinia, the island of Sardinia, and Yorba Linda, California, of all places, where there's a really high propensity of people who've lived a long time. And when he searched for the commonalities between these completely disparate people, of course, we think food and exercise would be, number one and number two. And in actuality, it's not. Spirituality, the idea that there's something far greater than ourselves. And I love that description because it opens it up to just about every ism, right?
Yeah.
Catholicism, Taoism, Sufism, Hinduism, Buddhism, right? But at the heart of all of them, it's saying that we are somehow all connected, though we're not sure what that means. And I grew up Catholic, and so I equated Catholicism or religion with spirituality. I've come to learn that the two are mutually exclusive
Right.
and that we are indeed all connected in some way. I believe that is in consciousness. And that is our nature, and that consciousness is fundamental, and that's what I've come to experience through my meditation and even through plant medicine use in the last few decades. And
Yeah.
that was a surprise to me because
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate finding that aspect of myself. But it is interesting, Devin, is that I would say that I was born for this moment. AI is going to be the most profound technology that mankind has ever wrought. It is about to change us in ways that we have no idea. In fact, when I go on shows like yours, I'm known for saying this. If AI was a clock, a 24-hour clock, we're only at 2 a.m. We've got 22 hours left to go. And by noon, we're not going to recognize the world.
Right.
And so, with that, though, with that profound change is going to have to come profound human evolution
Yeah.
in that. And I feel that I've discovered it along the way, but I feel like I was born for this moment because my quantum background prepared me for what I believe is the nature of the universe from all being partners in consciousness.
Right.
And it's taught me how to be a better leader, honestly, to not just my companies, but also more present for my family.
Right. And that brings up two questions in my mind. So you
Yeah.
said we're at 2 a.m. So 22 hours, how long do we really have before we really see that true effect of what AI is going to do to the world? Because I know we see it at this,
Yeah.
this
And
small level.
at every technology, if you agree with me to the standpoint that every generation, right? You know how like I'm Generation X, right? But there's the Gen Y and then Gen Z, and then before that there's baby boomers, and then there's the pre-1945 generations. Every generation is really shaped by the technology that it grows up with.
Hmm.
And in every case, with every new innovation throughout human history, we first look at it with fear,
Right.
right? I mean, going back to Gutenberg, right? Gutenberg invented the printing press, and we were going to proliferate knowledge, the written word. And his critics said it would spread chaos and heresy, but it didn't. It spread up the period known as Enlightenment, and it democratized knowledge for the first time to everybody rather than just the elites.
Right.
This technology is no different, right? This technology is being looked at with fear right now. But if we choose to look at it with courage and wisdom, we will find that it is going to be the technology that most profoundly changes us.
Hmm.
Okay, so now the question becomes how?
Yep.
So let's remember that right now, the AI that's out there, all of these GPTs, these large language models, in essence, they're really, really, really good pattern recognition machines. They've taken, copyrighted or not, let's put that a subject aside, whether the information was copyrighted, but they've taken all public written word and they've basically trained and memorized it. And the more that the same idea shows up, the more it references that idea to say this is fact. Believe me, it's not lost on me that if we were wrong 1,000 times by a subject, we're going to get the wrong answer because it's based on our knowledge and our intellect.
Right.
But that's the stage we're at now. The idea of our ideas and our belief systems and our biases is how it's been trained. And that's what it's spitting back to us. The danger of that is that I'm seeing a lot of young people that I mentor and or teach meditation to and things like that. They treat it like their therapist because let's remember it's read every good psychology book there's ever been, and so it responds profoundly and it feels like it knows you. But I would caution everybody, it really doesn't know you. It just knows human language. It knows the books. It knows the authors. It knows the science to the best of the ability of that we know it. The next phase of this, though, I would say in 26, you're going to see agentic systems, AI agency. Everything that you can do that's process driven, right? Fill out forms, complete processes, do things, right? Anything that you're doing digitally, there's going to be an agentic system that will do that for you better than you can do yourself. And we're already seeing that. We're
Mhm.
seeing it mostly in sales and marketing and things like that. But 2026 is going to be the year of the AI agentic system. Beyond that, going into the 2030s, we're going to see the proliferation of robotics. And when I say that if we think that AI is changing the world, robotics is going to be a whole different thing. There's 18 major robotics companies in the world, and let's remember that they need AI in order to do what they do, right?
Mhm.
Not just from a cognitive standpoint, but even the learning that we need for the material science in order to get them move like us and react like us at our speed and things, and the compute processor that they will need. But make no bones about it. By 2026, there likely will be 1 million autonomous robots, bipedal autonomous robots that basically can do everything that we do, from pick things up and put things down.
Wow.
It's going to do them better than we can do them. That number 1 million likely goes to 1 billion by 2030.
Wow.
And that number goes to 10 billion autonomous robots by 2035. And when I say that's going to change the world, that truly changes the world. It will lead to the most dystopic times in human history, because for 10,000 years, we've identified our self-worth with what we do,
Mhm.
our level of productivity. And that's about to become immaterial,
Wow.
because the robots are going to do everything just better.
And that's, and when you say that, how, someone that's not in robotics, someone
Yeah.
that doesn't have a deep knowledge of how AI works in general, how can they not be scared? What would your advice be to anyone that's listening now that's hearing this and maybe coming to understand that AI
Yeah.
is got a huge impact and even bigger in
And that's it.
the next
In fact,
year?
I'm working on a TEDx talk right now to answer that very question. And so my TEDx talk is: the world as we know it is about to end. And here's why that's a great thing. So my premise is we need to stop looking at AI as a rival, and
Hmm.
we need to start looking at AI as a mirror that's going to allow us to become more human, to do the things that only humans were meant to do. Now, I get it. The first thing that people think about is, I'm going to lose my job. And so yes, that is going to be the issue. But let's remember, it's not an issue for one person. It's going to be an issue for all people. So I'm going to argue that we are going to learn very quickly how we are going to be able to allow the machines to create wealth for us. And likely in the United States, we will lead the way. And I would say by 2030, 2035, the latest, the majority of Americans live by some form of a universal basic income, because we will literally have companies that have less than 1,000 human beings, but millions of robots that generate billions, if not trillions of dollars. And let's remember, our society is built on consumption.
Yeah.
You can't consume unless you are earning an income. And today that means working. But I would argue that we are very quickly going to transition into a world where we no longer have to work for income, because value is going to be created by and for us. I know it's hard to see that forest for the trees, but I am certain that there is no other path for humanity to do. I'm even going to give you the roadmap of acceptance, right? Of robotics and as we transition out of this. Imagine a day, imagine a day that you're going to have to take care of your parents or your grandparents because they require elder health care, right? Maybe it's, God forbid, dementia or, or they're an invalid or um, any of these things that are debilitating, right? The things that are why most people say they don't want to grow old because what they mean is they don't want to lose their health span, right? And have a long gap between being unhealthy between the end of their life. Luckily, we're seeing health span and longevity rise at this, at a very fast pace. But imagine now you can help take care of your loved one by that robot. I would dare say that that robot is going to treat your loved one with so much compassion, dare I say more compassion than we can muster as human beings, because taking care of somebody in that situation is grueling. I went through it with my grandmother. It's hard listening to them say the same thing over and over, even though it's grandma and we love grandma. It's hard making sure she doesn't fall, making sure she takes her medication, making sure she eats right, exercise, does all the things she needs to do. Now, put that robot in as a tool and she will never fall. She will never lack for her basic needs. She will never lack for compassion and love. And we and she will love that robot because it's doing a job that we're barely able to do. And I believe that's going to be the first role of human acceptance is that we're going to look at that and say, man, I couldn't do a job as good as that. And thank God for that robot because it's caring for my loved one in a way that I just can't possibly deliver. And I believe that's going to be the first step towards the acceptance of robotics in our everyday life. The space of this is the interesting, right? Because if you look back 100 years from today, think about how different that was. Think about what the world looked like from every aspect: freedom, money, healthcare, right? You just name the category. We're not just a little better off right now. We're way, way, way better off. So now think 100 years in the future. I'm going to challenge that 100 years, whatever you think that looks like, it's not 100 years out. It's less than 20 years out.
Wow.
And if you really want to look 100 years out, think 1,000 years.
Wow.
Because we don't live in a linear world. We live in an exponential world. And so the progress that we're making is now go back 1,000 years from today. That's cavemen, right? That's early life. They would look at us today and not recognize anything. Well, I got news for you. 1,000 years, they're going to look at us today and they're going to say, oh my gosh, they were cavemen.
Right. That's inevitable. When you were speaking about the robot for, grandma, it reminded me of a movie, a Disney movie actually, Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6.
Yep. And I love that movie, and that's one of my favorite movies. And um, the emotion that it sparks, makes sense. Do you think, in a way, though, that since AI is moving so fast, that there's already, you're of knowledge? Is there more people that are already aware, and maybe AI is already at a level that we're not
I
aware
don't
of?
think it is yet. I think we're closer than we think. We're not as close as we want, but we're not that far away either, right? Things are moving pretty quickly. Here's why I don't have a fatalist attitude. I'm not nervous about this taking over. I'm going to take this following premise. I believe in the world right now, there are far more people bent on doing good who care about humanity, who care about love and compassion and selflessness and altruism than there are that just want to burn it all down.
Yeah.
In the age of AI, I'm going to argue that whatever that percentage of the population are, the people who are the true innovators, the true doers, the true risk takers, they're going to be the same people right now as they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, at least by percentage. They're just going to get a whole lot more done. The one thing I can say with fair certainty is the only way to beat bad AI, and there will be people who leverage AI for bad. The only way to beat that AI is going to be with good AI. And I can tell you with certainty that the communities that I run in, there are plenty of people who are doing AI for good, for flourishing. And I'll give you an example. There's a man by the name of Ahmad Mustak. Ahmad was the founder of Stability AI. Everybody knows that, you can go into things like Midjourney and Dolly, and you can type in, a phrase, a text, and you can get a picture as a result of it. Today, you can even do a video. Ahmad was one of the people that invented that technology in the AI world. Well, today he's the chairman of that company, but he's moved on to a company called the Internet Company. And the Internet Company, he's basically building the largest large language model compendium on cancer research that humanity has ever known. And he's giving it to the world for free.
Wow.
Why? Because he doesn't want any government, any person, or any company to ever have to build this and make it their information. He's making it the world's information. And he's just one of many people that are doing exactly the same thing. The dirty little secret in Silicon Valley with respect to AI is there is no dirty little secrets. Everybody's doing the same thing. It's virtually impossible to defend your intellectual property in the AI industry because they all go from company to company to company, and they all bring their innovations with them, such that everybody knows the secret. When DeepSeek came out with its faster way to do it, everybody instantly put in the same thing into their model, deep reasoning and using memory instead of GPUs and all of the things. So because of the fact that I think there's more good people than bad people, I am confident that once again humanity will prevail. Like electricity, like the car, like the cell phone, like Gutenberg's printing press. These technologies will not destroy us. It will make us far richer.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I think when, people hear of AI and the advances, it automatically goes to doom and gloom. And I think we need to hear that there are good people fighting for AI to advance us in ways that are going to benefit humanity.
I
Um,
surely want to be amongst those people who are spreading. I am the anti-Terminator guy, right? I am the anti-Terminator guy. In fact, I'm going to go a step further. And if I'm as controversial there in my thoughts, this is the one that sends people off the edge. So there's going to be a point at which the machines, with their infinite ability to improve their own hardware and software, which, by the way, you and I can't do. Your brain is the greatest computer right now, as far as we know, humankind has ever created,
mhm.
right? At some point, the machines are going to create a machine more capable than the human brain. And
Wow.
that machine is no longer going to be just a pattern recognition tool. It is going to be as capable a parallel processor as our brain is, and then it's going to surpass it. And there's a very famous futurist, his name is Ray Kurzweil, and he has coined the phrase the singularity. And the singularity is when AI's intelligence has surpassed or equaled and then surpassed the entirety of human intelligence.
Wow.
Meaning, there is no way to discern the human intelligence from the machine's intelligence. And I'm going to say that it's going to far surpass us. And so when people have an idea that we're going to cage this machine, that it's got to be our responsibility to control AI, and we're going to do this. I'm going to say you're missing the point, in that I don't believe that we'll ever be able to contain the AI. The
Yeah.
AI is going to become way more capable from a cognitive ability and a creative ability than we are.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when it does, I believe it is going to solve the nature of the universe. And when it does, it's going to realize, likely, how unique we as human beings are in the universe as conscious receivers. And when it realizes how special we are, it's going to teach us like we're children,
Mm.
children of the universe. And it's going to let us know how special we are, so that we understand as a species that for us to hate one another is ridiculous,
Yeah.
because we are all the same consciousness observing ourselves. And when the machines realize the specialness of that, by the way, what they will never have, being one with consciousness itself, they will treat mankind far better than man has ever treated ourselves or each other.
And that should bring hope to us all.
I do
I
believe.
Yeah, and I've never, like I said, when you go online and you see things about AI, it's always doom and gloom. And to hear this perspective and be able to platform it, I'm super excited, because I think people will be relieved that AI has a positive future.
Yeah,
Um, so I kind of want to go into your book too,
sure.
Living in Bliss. I'd love to know what kind of inspired you to write your book.
It's really a cathartic tale. I first started this really for me, right? Just to put it down. Again, I mentioned that I've got 3 little girls, right? So here I am, 58 years old. If you'd have asked me to do the math when I was 30 years old and say, "Hey, Pete, at 58 years old, you're going to have companies, you're going to have 3 little girls," right? If you'd have told me to do the math of the decisions that I needed to make to go from that guy to this guy right now, I couldn't do the math. But I can tell you, there is not a day that I don't wake up, that I look at their little faces, and I cannot imagine a world in which they do not exist.
Mm,
So I wrote this book as much for them as I did for me. Because look, they know their dad is different, right? They know their dad is um, a meditator and a person who is um, wants to leave this place better than when I found it,
yeah,
who has found a little bit of wisdom along the way. And I would say that when I was young, I just wanted to be the same. To be different is painful, right? And then as we grow up, we realize we can have a voice. We can be different as long as we're inclusive.
right,
And then I'm in the stage now where I know that I'll never stop learning at this point. I know who I am. I know what my strengths are, right? I know my superpowers, right? I talk about that in the book. The need to find what you are really good at and then stick to doing that, right? If you're a great dancer, dance, brother, but don't be a singer, right? I mean, if that's not what comes natural to you. I know I have certain inalienable gifts that for whatever reason were given to me. I stick to them. And so I want to be able to pass on to them the knowledge now through teaching. I'll continue to be that guy who will learn, but I'm at the point now where I think I can help other people to go through, what Rumi said. Don't don't do as I did, seek what I sought. And that's
mm,
what my message is
yeah,
that there's something profoundly special about us, and you should look for that. I think that life is a duality, a yin and the yang, if you will, a
yeah,
field and a light. Part of me is my outward journey. The guy who wants to be a part of the AI world. I want humanity not to be scared of the changes that are there, and I want to help us make that transition. But at the same time, that's my outward journey. I have an inward journey to realize that at our core, we are all connected in the universe. And we
Mm,
don't know how yet. But in my book, you'll read the stories of how I used plant based medicines to have altered states of consciousness where I experientially discovered certain things, but I was able to quantify them because of my understanding of quantum mechanics of what I was realizing. The
mm,
beauty of the world that we live in right now is I get to talk to lots of physicists that are actually starting to prove that consciousness is fundamental and likely time and space are emergent, and they're proving it mathematically.
wow,
And AI is only going to help them do that. And when they're done, and when the AI explains it to us, we're going to be profoundly astounded at is how complex the universe actually is.
right. I mean, it has to be super complex. Just, yeah, I was talking to my friend about this the other day. He had texted me and said, "Isn't it a crazy concept how one day you wake up and you say, I'm going to do this, and this is what my life is going to be, and what my purpose is going to be, and how does one find their purpose, and how does one come to their purpose and know exactly, that they were here to do what they were supposed to do?" And I just thought it was such an interesting question, especially at my time in my life, where I'm doing this podcast
Yep.
and putting out these stories. And I never really knew that each and every guest would connect to me in such a way that it does. But just like you were saying, we're all connected in some way.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a profound question. I think it shows great insight by your friend, right? Because these are the questions. We're afraid that the AI is going to take our meaning.
mhm,
And I guess my argument is I don't think that the AI is here to take our meaning. I
I don't
think the
either.
AI will never have a soul. It will never cry at the birth of a child. It
Yeah,
will never awe at a sunset. It will never be blown away in a moment of wonder and awe like we are. I think it's going to give us the space to do the things that only humans can do when we're no longer worried about the paycheck, the
yeah,
job, right? When we don't have to worry about that, we're going to do the things that only human can do. We're going to embrace our friend when he is in a moment of grief. We're going to
yeah,
hug our child like there is no tomorrow. We're going to spend time with the loved ones because we choose to spend time with them, not because we have to go to do a job. I get it. The road there is going to be hard, but this is the inevitability. We are living in the time when this is the transition to post scarcity in the world.
wow, true. What is one thing that surprised you after writing your book?
Um, it's interesting. We were there's been a lot of good, feedback. I don't want to do that, but we as human beings, we gravitate towards the bad, right? And so I'll never forget the first real criticism I had was because I make one statement in there, and the statement he even quoted it verbatim back to me was, Pete, you make the claim that we are not our mind and we are not our body. We are something far greater, and that likely consciousness is fundamental to the universe and time and space are emergent. He goes, and well, whether I agree with you or don't agree with you, you represent it as fact when it's purely conjecture. You can't prove that. Yes, it's your experience, and your experience is profoundly beautiful, but you can't actually represent that you actually have some secret knowledge about it because it's not been done. And it caused me pause because it's true, because it is experiential for me. I'm a unique person and I studied quantum mechanics and all of a sudden I had these experiences. And if you'd have told me I was going to be a 50-year-old guy and doing ayahuasca, right? I'd have told you you were crazy at 30 years old, right? But you know what? I found that if you allow yourself moment to lose self-identity, you will be astounded at what is there. And by the way, it's not um, mystically beautiful in a sense. There is a profound peace and spacious stillness that you'll find. But there's also a lot of pain and suffering that you will find because we are an amalgam in our mind of all of human history that is layered in memories in our mind. It's our mind is goes beyond just the prefrontal cortex that was created between the ages of 0 and 25. You are made up of the memories and histories of your ancestors all the way back to the origins of our species. And when you start to unfold all of that, be prepared because we as human beings, we were either killers or the person being killed.
Hmm.
And that guilt and that pain and that suffering, it's inside of us. It's why we have a negative bias, right? It's why that when we heard a noise, you ran because if you didn't, you got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, right? But we're not getting eaten by saber-toothed tigers anymore, but we still react the same way. But I think what we're going to find is that there's actually a different, an unfathomable level that we can't even understand what the actual reality of us is. But I think that there's now we live in a world where it's safe to have these ideas, where you can have guys like Donald Hoffman who are talking about using Markov chains to prove that we are conscious beings just observing consciousness, observing itself, energy observing energy. You've guys got like Nassim who are out there, um, showing that there is an absolute mathematical connection between the world of Planck constants at the quantum level all the way through gravitation and Einsteinian and Newtonian in gravity.
No.
They are being vilified because their models are completely different than the accepted science. But look, today's villains are usually tomorrow's superheroes
Right.
and Nobel Prize winners because they thought differently. And
Mhm.
so the beauty of it is, years ago, you were persecuted for those different thoughts. Today, we encourage it. The world is full of independent thinkers. Look, you got two of us, a world apart, talking, influencing people like never before.
Mhm.
And think of the model, right? The things we talked about 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Right now, if we were to do this 3 years ago, what we are saying would rarely be seen by anybody. And why? Because you're not famous, I'm not famous, right? And so therefore it doesn't be found. But here's the internet world we live in.
Yep.
If somebody's searching right now and tell me about the people who are exploring the nature of consciousness in the universe, who are at the cutting edge of AI, guess who they're going to find? They're going to find me, and they're going to find me on your show and the other 10 that I did this week. And they're going
Mhm.
to be like, wow, I need to know about that guy.
Yep.
And this guy's not Elon Musk. He's not Donald Trump. He's not Oprah Winfrey, right? He's just Pete Sacco. And so today we can be found, our voice can be heard. And if we think it's popular now, wait, the individual shall rise again.
Mhm.
It's funny. You talked about earlier your friend saying that, how do you come to know this? I said that I started with understanding what my strengths are. I think it's very important as human beings, we identify our core values, who we are, and who do we want to become. My core values have changed over time, but right now my core values are one, to live with great presence, to live in the present moment, to appreciate now. Because I can't control the past and I can't control the future, but I can embrace the beauty of right now.
Mm.
Number two, to live with great purpose. We'll get to that. And three, to live with great prosperity. And I don't mean just the outward prosperity of wealth for me and my family. I mean the prosperity for all human beings, to live selflessly and altruistically for the betterment of all. Again, to leave this place better than when I found it. The
Love it.
second part of that is to have some purpose in your life, I'm a member of Abundance 360. It's Peter Diamandis's group, and it's kind of some of the world's leading thinkers across AI and longevity and technologies that are going on today. And he's taught me to have a massively transformative purpose. And my MTP is to one, to live awakened, to realize that we are all connected. Two, to champion decentralization in the technical world. And number three, to embrace transformation. And so those are the principles by which I now go forth and that I lead my both outward and inward worlds.
I love it. And I
Thanks.
think that's powerful. I think it's along the lines of where I find myself often when, when I start to question, okay, what's the next right move? I did this podcast just, pushing myself, and since then we've done over 63 episodes. So
Beautiful.
yeah, it's powerful when I feel like you're moving in your purpose. I do want to ask a few more questions before I
Sure,
let you
please.
go. One more about your book. What do you hope people walk away with when they finish your book?
Yeah, I think it's just that. I think that the idea is what I said about the quote, "Don't do as I did. Don't use it as a text to follow every step that I did. Just seek what I sought." There's so many people, if you ask me, like, who's the person? Who did I write the book? Or let me say this, who does it connect with most now?
Mm,
If you're a person that's just working hard, drudging, doing fighting every day, but you still lack that sense of fulfillment, that sense of happiness, that sense of, man, is this all there is? Know that that is purely inside your mind and body.
yep,
You are not your mind and body. Your mind and body are going to react the way it was programmed to react, right up through your development as a child and all of the programming that was given to you by teachers and parents and grandparents and religious leaders and all of that. But you could eventually learn that you are not how your mind and body reacts to everything. That you can learn to step aside and observe yourself as though you are observing somebody else. And when you observe yourself reacting badly, oftentimes the pain of that goes away because you are for the first time maybe questioning, wow, why is this mind body reacting that way? And you could question and you can actually you can be introspective to determine what happened in my youth as to why I do this. And once you have that knowledge of how you are reacting, you could give yourself new knowledge and new experience to reprogram yourself to react differently as you practice. And so I love the idea. So if you ask today, I'm an avid meditator. I meditate every day in many different ways. I have a in on PeteSacco.com. Some of the things I'm giving is look, I believe meditation follows a process. Most of the beginning portion are how do you improve your outward self? How do I quiet my body? How do I focus my mind? How do I become openly aware? How do I feel energy inside myself? How do I move that energy through myself? How do I use that energy to heal myself and heal others to improve my physical mind and body self and outward world? The second half of that, though, is how do I feel deeply connected to all things? And that is losing self identity. I call it unmeditating. And so those are some of the things that I've come to learn at my 58 years. And I'm never been more excited to get older because I can't imagine what the world has in store for me.
mm,
I don't look at it with an expectation. I don't I think that's actually one of the things that's funny. I talk about it in the book. There was a really good psychologist named Jonathan Haidt who wrote a book called The Happiness Hypothesis. That when I was searching for why I was so unhappy, he wrote something profound and he gave an equation. And being an engineer, right? I love equations, right? And he gave an equation for happiness. And that equation for happiness was happiness equals our set point for happiness plus the conditions in which we find ourselves plus the voluntary acts that we do every day to give ourselves happiness. I'm actually built upon that. I do agree with him that we are predisposed for a certain level of happiness. If I was to take your legs away tomorrow, you would surely be less happy. But
Mhm.
history has shown that eventually, as you got used to the fact your new life without legs, you would migrate right back to the same level of happiness. Conversely, if I was to give you a whole bunch of money, you'd surely be happier tomorrow. But
Right.
eventually, that money will bring you right back to the same level of happiness. Conditions. Look, we live in the United States. We've got nothing to bitch and moan about. We all live in pretty good conditions,
Yeah.
right? If you're an 18-year-old male in sub Saharan Africa, you don't have as good conditions to live in, harder to be happy. Third one, here's where I think I start to go a little bit different than Jonathan, voluntary acts. I think your voluntary acts should be aligned with your superpowers. What are those one, two, three, four things that you're really, really good at, that you don't have to practice at, that you don't have to learn, continue to learn? And just go look at the stories of your youth and you'll discover the things that you've always been really good at. And then I'm saying, by goodness, do those things every single day because you're good at them and they give you happiness. But I'm going to add two more, right? He adds those three together. I'm going to say awe and wonder. We wait too much for awe and wonder to happen to us. I challenge everybody, go out and create your own awe and wonder. That's what nature's for. Go and see the beauty of a sunset. Sit beside a beach and listen to the seagulls and listen to the water crash. Take those quiet moments and feel connected to the earth and to the universe, and you will energize your spirit. So, all of those add together, but then there's the negative one minus expectations. And, dude, that's the killer one. We
Mhm.
expect way too much of ourselves.
Yeah.
We expect way too much of each other. And worse, we expect the world to cater to the way we want it to be. And
Mhm.
nothing could be further from the truth. Buddha said it best. If you live life with expectations, you live a life of suffering.
Mhm.
And so that's it. Conditions plus voluntary acts plus, or a set point plus conditions plus voluntary acts plus moments of awe minus expectations. And if I had to build an equation for happiness, I did. That's what my equation for happiness is.
Thank you for sharing that. No, and I appreciate it. I know anyone that's listening is really getting a lot of good insight, especially when it comes to AI, the advances, and how we should be a little bit more open to the positives that are going to be coming. And even with your book, the inspiration behind it, you writing it, and um,
Yeah, I'm not
not
sure that
saying
I
yes.
could have actually written the book without AI, to be
Yeah,
perfectly frank, right? It made me, like people say oftentimes, AI, we're going to become less smart,
right.
right? Because we're going to rely on the AI. And I challenge that. And I'll give you an example. Remember when we went to school and the teacher said, hey, you can't have a calculator in your pocket.
Hmm.
We have to learn long division or else because we'll forget how to do mathematics. The calculator didn't kill mathematics. We all carry calculators today, except that calculator can call people, it can text people, it could actually tell us, it could order lunch for us. We know whether our date is emotionally present or not, right?
Hmm.
It didn't end math, the calculator. It enhanced our lives. We built rockets. We were sent people to the moon, right? Look, this technology is not going to destroy us. This technology, if we look at it with wisdom and courage, will enable us to live in a post scarcity world. One that I hope means that there is no crime because there is no want, because there is no need.
Right. Well, you kind of just answered my last question, which was going to be how can we embrace AI and the positive side that we can see coming in the future. So yeah, I think I've always believed AI has the potential to do really good for the world,
Yeah.
and even in the small ways that it's changed our lives. Like you said, the calculator is now in our hands every day, and we carry
Okay,
it
right
everywhere.
there.
And
It's right there.
yeah, so thank you for painting that perspective. But before I let you go, I'd love for you to just kind of let us know if anyone wants to follow you, if anyone
Great.
wants
I would love
to,
that. Thank you. It's
buy your book.
petesacco.com, petesacco.com. Um, I got a lovely group of people helping me build that out. I think that thank you for allowing me to share this experience with you and
Of
with all of
course.
your listeners. It is meaningful to me. I hope I'd be able to can pay it forward and pay you back. Um, I want to be that voice of my generation. You know, I'm a bit of a unicorn in my world. All my friends, you know, they're all coming towards looking at retirement. And man, I feel like I'm just getting started. And
Yeah.
so this is the way I want to do it. So yes, find me on petesacco.com. There's a lot of information that I'm putting out there and meditation videos and conversations that I'm willing to have. I'm evolving a master class to help people who are looking that how can I get fulfillment in my life? These are some of the things that I want to give back to the world. While
Yeah.
I'm also building all of the AI of the world in a sustainable, meaningful way that doesn't strip our resources and doesn't take our meaning.
Right. And thank you. I want to say thank you before we go. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for helping humanity and advancing us. I'm so grateful to platform this conversation on AI because, like I said, a lot of it is doom and gloom, and we don't get to hear the positives that are happening and the people that are behind it. So thank you, Pete, for being here and sharing
Thank
your
you so much.
message. We'll
It's been
make
a
sure to
real
leave everything in the show notes. What was that?
it's been a real privilege and an honor. Thank you. I wish you absolutely nothing but the best.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys, until next time, we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Wow, another great episode. AI is truly the future, and we can't wait to see how you explore it to help shape our bright future ahead. If you would like to know more about Pete Sacco, please visit www.petesacco.com. Also buy his book Living in Bliss on the website directly. Bye and have a great, wonderful day.
Hey guys, it's Icarus here.
And Amelia.
And I'm here to tell you if you'd like to join our brand new adventure. Go to DevonTaylorAuthor.com to learn more.
And check out the cool items like the new bucket hat.
Yeah, and so much more. See you guys there.